Hi everyone, my name is Andres Munoz and I'm here with my colleague Miguel Urdia.
Hey everyone.
And this is the tech tip for the month of May. And this tech tip is going to be around using Premiere Pro to do some simple edits for video editing. So if you have any content that you're using for your department and you'd like to edit and put out, we're going to show you how to do some simple edits to kind of get your videos out there. And so, as I said, this is going to be around the app called Premiere Pro. And so first to download it, you're going to need to download it through the Adobe Creative Cloud. And so you can either search it up through the search bar here, or as well, if you have it on your desktop, like I do here, just click on it. So then in the All Apps section here, you can scroll down and you'll see there's a bunch of different apps here. And Premiere Pro will be in this section here, available in your plan section. You just have to kind of look for it. Mine is already up here since I've downloaded already. But there's also a search option, so you can search for Premiere Pro. Just instead of how it says for me, it says open. For you, it'll say download. Just click on download and it'll start downloading the application.
So before you get started on Premiere Pro, it is best advice to create a new folder. For me, kind of like dropping in desktops just because I'll be downloading documents or images or other footages, and I just drop into my desktop. You can also save this in documents. So for this one, I'm just going to call it project one for this one. Just want to create a new folder somewhere. So once you create this folder, right now we already imported our footage, which is basically our videos. So in this case, it would be zoom.0. So like when you do recordings, not proper, but recommended folder structure is to have a folder called footage, where you drop all your Zoom videos or recordings from other people in your department, and you drop into footage. The next folder you want to create is the project folder, where you will be saving all your Premiere files. The reason why I want to do this method is because Premiere Pro tends to do a lot of auto saving and it'll create a bunch of files. So having it in this folder will prevent you from having too many things everywhere outside the project folder, and just more like, to organize better. So once you have that, I recommend going to the project folder and clicking on the address bar. We're just going to copy this address link. And from there, we're going to launch up Premiere Pro, which you should already have installed. All right, once we are here in Premiere Pro, you'll get this, since it's a fresh install, you'll probably get information about Premiere Pro and the kind of the unique feature it has. You go ahead and close this, since I'm just gonna go dive right into Premiere Pro. So in this case, I'm gonna go here. Since you start a new project, you just wanna click new project. And then on the location, the recent address we copied, you wanna go and paste it. So we go and browse. And right now, by default, it's going to go into documents. But for us, since we already have it copied, Control V, and it'll launch us the correct proper folder. You can also find it here wherever you saved your folder. So in this case, you go to your desktop and find the project. Make sure you go into project folder when you're selecting this. And then from this, we're going to go with tech tip. So we did our previous tech tip. So we're just going to go over that one. I'm going to call it tech tip 4 for the last tech tip, and then press OK. We saw previously on the other page, the settings don't have to worry about that. And what I like to go into is assembly. So you have multiple tabs on top: editing, color effects. Assembly will be the first thing you want, just because it gives you a bigger window. And then you want to go into the folders. And remember, we placed our Zoom file. In this case, is our previous recording tech tip. You're going to go and drag and drop it onto the import section. And now I'm put our footage in there. And then to get started with our project and start editing stuff, you just simply grab the footage. In this case, we could call this like, this is a Zoom video, and we drag and drop it into our sequence, our timeline. And then now you're gonna have two files. A kind of better way to view this is to click on this and make it into a list view. And normally by default, the one that looks more like a sequence, which is like a representation of this, is the one that's your project or your timeline. The name is going to be named as exactly as the name of that video footage that you imported. So to change it and not get confused, you just double click on it and rename this to, let's say, project one, just so you can have convention names. And now we have the project. And now this will talk to you more about the features and how to cut stuff and more how to use Premiere Pro. So I'll hand it off to you, Andres.
Yeah, so you can see here in this top right section is like the video section. So you see this play button here, you can actually play it and then it'll start playing the video. And then as you're making edits, you can press this play button to see if you like the edits or if you want to do some more work with it. You see here we have the timeline and then we have this blue cursor. And this blue cursor is helpful because it lets you kind of move throughout the whole video, kind of scrub through everything a lot faster and a lot easier. And then also another trick in the timeline is to zoom into the timeline. So if you want to edit a specific spot, let's say you want to go to the exact 23rd second here of the video, and I can tell it's the 23rd second because over here it has kind of where we're at the video, so we know it's the 23rd second. And I can zoom in using Alt, and then if you have a mouse, you can scroll up, and then it'll kind of, wherever your mouse is, wherever your cursor is, that's where it's going to zoom in. And so you can zoom in all the way to get, and you'll see the audio waves get a lot bigger, so you can tell easier where you want to cut it. And so now for the tools to edit it, you see this, you have this toolbar here with a lot of different items. We're going to use the razor tool here, which is this one. And you see it's also the Command C. So once I click on the razor tool, I can go over to the timeline. And let's say I want to cut the space between these two audio waves here. I'll just click right before this one and then right after this audio wave. And that's again with the razor tool. So once I've done my two cuts with the razor tool, I need to go back to this selection tool. Because if I don't go back to the selection tool, then I'll just keep having the razor tool here and I'll just cut some more stuff that I don't want to. So always make sure to go back to the selection tool. And then I'll just click on the part that I want to cut out. And then for this part, you can either press backspace or delete, or you can press cut over here. I'm just gonna press delete. And then you see that part that I wanted is now out. And now to kind of connect these two spaces here, because I don't want there to be kind of this dead space, I can right click on the empty space and then I'll click on ripple delete. And now the two areas are now together and they play basically all through that.
And I'll be adding a few more details or tools you could use for Premiere Pro. So how Andres was explaining that you can cut stuff and put things together with ripple delete. Sometimes some of our edits or cuts, you want to make it more seamless. One of the cool features that Premiere Pro has is called transition and audio transition tools that you could use. So if you go into the editing tab, you should be able to see an effects panel, which is not visible by default. So you want to click on these three dots here or the two arrows and go into effects. And then the two main ones you want to use, like for your video editing, is audio transitions, the crossfades, and the video transitions, which is our dissolve. Those are like the very clean ones that I found the most useful. So for example, on this video, like it'll start and then abruptly kind of doesn't erupt, stop and cut. And to kind of like make it more seamless, I'd like to go with the dissolve dip to black. That way we could change two scenes together. So you just automatically click, hold and drag and drop. And now you have a neat transition that'll transition to the next scene. Another thing that I would recommend when you're doing transitions is to also add a exponential fade or constant power. It's like one of these two, constant gain. If you look more on, if you zoom in close to this timeline, you can see how it lowers the volume down and then exponentially increases. You can make it the other way around where it's loud at first and then it gets slightly lower. There's an exponential fade. So there's like many features. Is mostly just playing around with it. What do you think sounds nicer? And then yeah, that's like some of the things you can use after you cut stuff. And I guess Andres was saying after you do ripple delete, you just probably want to put them together. And that's another neat feature on how to put them together and make them, work well together. Okay, now that's some of the stuff you could do within Premiere Pro when cutting, editing videos. I think that's mostly what we're working on most. And that transition where I like to add more transitions, like especially in the beginning of the video and ending of it. So I like to use dip to black, like normally towards the end. And that's how you get that little cool fade in the background. So how I dip to black, that's where I like to use the most. And also the beginning of the video. So you can have your cool graphic in the front of the video, and then you do that dip to black for transition nicely. And the last thing would be to export this video would be to go into File, Export Media. First, if it's grayed out, though, the reason is because we're not selecting the timeline. So first you want to select the timeline, go to File, and then you just want to say Export Media, or the Control M is an option, or Command M on your Mac. And then after you want to change the AVI to H.264, which is right here, which stands for MP4. You don't want to do AVI or other settings because the file will be like more than what you initially started with. So right now, like these files, like Zoom files, like 100 or 200 megabytes. But if you do like AVI, it could like turn out to 263 gigabytes just for a video. It'll take forever to render. So MP4 is the safest one, the fastest way I've found, and also the cleanest. And it won't take up too much space on your computer. The last thing is to export this. So I'm trying to make the window a little bit smaller that we could see that export button. So all this at the bottom, you can see there's an export button. And before we export, there is an output name. So when you click on the output name, that's where you specify where you wanted to, export your project. You could drop it in the same project folder, like in the beginning, the root, or you can create a new folder, export in case you're making multiple edits and re-edits. You could save it in just one place and continue on from there. And the next step would be to export this video. And like I said, Zoom files and the project you're working on don't take too much time to render out. All right, so it's finally completed the download process. I mean the rendering process, and now it'll give you a notification in the bottom saying it successfully exported. Clear this, and then now we're going to go into our folder, and we should be able to see our exported footage, which is right here. That's all the tech tips for today. I hope you guys found this useful, and we'll go over, hopefully, if you guys like these type of videos, more on Premiere Pro, you guys could comment below, and then we'll add this for the next tech tip on more classes on Premiere Pro. Well, you guys have a great week and a great month, and see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.